snappiest one. I really got that.
Add some extra smacking.
I'm getting my flamenco on.
Yeah, sure.
For our next guest. Hey, welcome to episode 5 of the Atkins Labcast.
And
this is a proper, I know she's dressed like she did with the other 3, and I'm dressed just because we haven't changed.
But what if they haven't listened to the other 3?
Oh, okay. You may have skipped those to get this one.
We did bonus episodes this week of some of our lab partners that we are their lab to. What do we call these people?
Web partners, gallery partners.
Sure. Partners of some description.
They're our customers.
Instaproof, Peak Time. Shootproof.
And Photo Merchant, which probably won't be out by the time
till next week, yeah.
Yeah, whenever.
But, you can go into the feed and find those if you're interested. But today, right now, this second.
Right now, you're going to listen to something very, very special.
And I think this is, if you haven't before ventured to one of those evil websites, YouTube or slightly less evil Vimeo. You're doing your fucking website.
No, I'm not doing it.
You're looking at your bloody laptop again.
No, I'm not.
So if you haven't done that, this is the show to do it.
Yeah, because
I know no one's watching the video, even though I'm spending weeks bloody making the videos look good. This is the one to do it in because I went through and every time she talked about a picture, I put the picture up in the thing, and so you can see you and her talk about the picture that she's talking about, and it's really cool.
Yeah, so this is quite a visual thing, but we tried to describe the images so that you could perhaps go to the website afterwards, have a look in the show notes, there'll be links and all that kind of stuff to see them. But if you do watch on Vimeo or YouTube, you will see the images consume the screen. Whether you want to do that, I think it's interesting just audibly. You don't have to look at the pictures.
don't have to. You don't have to. I'm saying it because, I put effort into it.
You did a beautiful job. Honestly, I did not expect it. So we're thinking this might be a template going forward for some of these interviews.
Yeah.
Where we're speaking to photographers who've got a particular style or particular skill.
Or technique.
And they want to talk about their images. Yeah. I mean, she's got so many techniques.
My God.
Her current one is
I'm buying that camera that she talked about.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. We talked about this earlier. Am I buying that camera, Paul?
Yes, darling. We'll get you one.
Who's buying the camera? How many cameras do you have, Paul?
Not enough.
How many cameras do you have, Paul?
I don't know.
40 millionty thousand?
Perhaps
40 millionty thousand. And how many does your wife of 25 years have?
You have an Olympus Mew and you have an iPhone 11.
I have an Olympus Mew. I don't know where the fuck the Mew is.
Mew.
I don't have that. I don't know where that is.
We loaned it to Elizabeth.
Exactly. That means the teenager has it. So how many cameras do I have, Paul?
Enough.
I have none. I have the camera we're recording on right now, which is an iPhone camera.
It's a good one.
So, viewers and listeners to our show, please.
You dropped my last camera, the Nikon FE1.
When did I drop what?
The lens it's grindy now.
Oh, that stupid one we use for in the lab. Whatever you guys do in the lab, whatever this business is.
Can we talk about our guest?
Yes.
So our guest I met...
she talks about an amazing camera, which I totally want.
We met her 13 years ago and she came to Adelaide and did a presentation, and her work is stellar, and she's a teacher. She's Norwegian, but she's in Denmark.
We are totally moving to Denmark.
You'll listen to this and you'll go, oh, I need to be in Denmark.
You really will.
Yeah. So it's a pretty...
They have just pianos lying around. Yeah, they have boats on top of mountains, and they have free everything.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And all their people are beautiful, from what I can tell.
Yeah, they do seem it. And there's all that wonderful language that they talk about.
Well, we're fucked on the language front. There's no way I'm going to be able to learn any of that. I'm going to be the rude, obnoxious Australian walking around Denmark going, oi!
Oi, can I have a fish? No, it's a great interview, so please...
it's a fantastic interview because you get a real insight into her technique and methods, and
she's a great teacher.
You get a beautiful kick up the arse at the end.
Oh yeah, I love it. So go through it. If you've got the time, sit and watch the video because it's lovely seeing the work. If you don't, hop onto the website.
Flick through the pictures before you listen to it because you'll remember them.
That will be enough. Or even once you've finished it, flick through them. You'll remember that and make the links up in your brain. Yeah. So we're doing this thing. So if you like it, let us know.
And we are putting images that weren't shown in the group in the video as well, so they can.
She's given us a little bit more to show.
And there's a video of her doing one of them.
Yeah, there's a video of her doing some.
You haven't put in the Dropbox yet. So
yes, it's in there.
No, it's not.
Your Dropbox hasn't refreshed. It's in there.
Oh, really?
Yes. But if you like what you see with her, do follow her and pick her up on Facebook and Instagram.
She's amazing.
Her work is great, and she deserves the encouragement.
You did a beautiful job of the interview, babe.
Oh, babes, thanks.
You did.
Thank you.
You're very good at this.
I love it. I really genuinely love doing it.
You can tell. So now we're going to go to the interview, and it is with
Ragne, Kristen, Sigmond. So
that is some name right there.
Ragne, Christine, Sigmond. Yeah, it's Norwegian.
Yeah,
she's like Ragnar. She's Thor. Like she's one of those types. Oh my god! In fact,
Vikings. If you haven't watched the first 2 seasons of Vikings, is all you need.
And if you don't see Ragne in there, she could pass as the
totally. She just needs to like plait the hair up. And like
get a longboat.
Do you think her husband's as hot as one of the Vikings with all the muscles and everything?
Could be. Apparently Spanish. I think. Anyway, enjoy Ragne. Okay, here we go. I'm here with my friend Ragne Sigmond from Denmark, originally Norway, and we're Skyping now, huh? We're Skyping, and it's the middle of the day where you are, or in the afternoon?
Yes, it's 3:10 right now.
Yeah, 3:10. And we are both in Corona lockdown. We're both in coronavirus lockdown. So tell me, what is it like around you? What's it like in Denmark right now? You're in a small town, are you? Or is it a large town? Where is it?
Yeah, right now I'm actually at work, and I think I'm like the only one at school now at my work. It takes me an hour to drive to my work. So normally, it's a fairly small town actually, Viborg it's named. But I live in Aarhus. That's the second largest city in Denmark. So
Okay, so what's the restrictions like, and what's happening? Like, can you go to a restaurant? Can you go to the supermarket, or can you shop? Or
we can shop. We can go to the supermarkets. There's been no restrictions with how many. There are just signs in the store saying how many they're allowed in the store at a time. But there is no waiting line outside the store, like I know it's in other countries.
Yeah,
it's more strict further down south of Scandinavia. So, it's you have to stand 2 meters behind people in a line. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, and it's everything has been closed. Everything, and now it's been very slowly opening up again now.
And is the feeling is it oppressive, or is everyone doing something together and feeling like they're achieving something together? You know, is it a good sort of a feeling, or is it a scary feeling?
I think it's scary for those who are unsure of if they'll keep their jobs, journalists, photographers and stuff. Yeah, there are, but otherwise from that, I think people are very, like every morning now on TV, on national TV, they have a song, 10 minutes of song. So we sing together apart.
Oh, yeah.
Very sweet. It's like this thing with bringing people together, and it's one thing that comes every week on TV on Fridays in the evenings, and people share their cell phone videos of themselves singing and stuff like that. So they try to do stuff that people so people feel together, although they are in separate homes and.
And is there many cases of coronavirus where you are?
No, not that many. Denmark, they really closed down, and they've kept the curve that they're always talking about at a pretty decent level, and that's why they are now opening up. So because so there will be more cases now, of course.
Of course. Well, congratulations on doing that, and so you're at work. You're a teacher. And you and I met 13 years ago, where you came and you gave a presentation to a group of photographers here in Adelaide, which was the accredited Australian Professional Photographers, AAPP, which rolled into the Australian Institute of Professional Photography. And you gave a presentation. I think did you meet them at Orvieto, one of the... did you meet in Italy? And is that how you got the invitation? Yeah,
I had one of my first lectures ever with such a big audience was in Orvieto. Back in 2006, and then there were some Australian photographers. I'm in the audience there, and they were like thrilled afterwards, and they asked me, what would you think about coming to Australia and visit us and have a lecture? And I was like, whoa, Australia. Well, I have family in Australia, so I was like, whoa, this is a great opportunity to go there. So of course, and I'm always thinking you should accept challenges, and although I was scared stiff, so I said yes. And in the meantime, I met my husband, who was not Danish speaking. Sorry, at that time he's actually Spanish speaking. So and we spoke a lot of English. So I was practicing my English all the time, and that also helped a bit on that part. And then I came to Australia. Yeah, I think it was in June 2007. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I didn't go to Orvieto, I didn't see you, but you came here and I was asked to help take you around and show you the town and that sort of thing. And we printed some of your work. You sent some files early, and we had them up for maybe 6 months. And I've got to say, they are some of the most incredible pictures we've ever printed or had on display. And I think that is the reason why we're talking today, because those pictures have stuck with me ever since. And I wanted to talk to you for a start. Well, I'm very interested. In fact, only a minute ago, you sent me a message showing me about the college where you teach, which is the Media College Denmark. And I'm reading about it. I'm going, we don't have... so something happened in Australia here with our what we call technical and further education, which is our advanced systems, advanced education, but not university, but somewhere in the middle. And the government, the government has, the best term would be gutted. They've stripped it back to nothing. And for example, in Adelaide here, a degree in photography is a year, and they are struggling to get all the information. It's impossible. Now, I was reading on your website, you're looking at 4-year degrees?
Yeah.
The equipment in studios, we're talking phase 1 Hasselblad gear, is that correct?
Yeah, right now, actually not Facebook, but Hasselblad. Now we have moved over to Nikon. But yeah, so fully brown color equipped, and so we are working with good stuff.
And so tell me, if I was a photographer, to attend your college, I read that you had to be an apprentice. So you've got an apprentice system running. So if I was apprentice to a professional photographer, what would it cost me to attend the college?
Nothing.
I was going to swear, but I won't. That's incredible. Well, I mean, so tell me, I hate going back to the pandemic, but is there good government support for people who have maybe lost their jobs or whose jobs have been stood down? Is it good support? Because that as an education offering is incredible.
It is. Yeah. And actually, so I was a student here once myself back in 98. That was when I started. And back then, the education system in Norway wasn't that good. So after that, a lot of private schools started in photography, but they're pretty expensive. You have to pay. Yeah. But I discovered this school in Denmark, and I was like, wow, and I got my apprenticeship in Norway, and I was, it's totally possible if you have an apprenticeship at a photographer in Australia or whatever else in the world. And all over Scandinavia and Europe, you have that's the key to become a student here.
Wow.
And then you like over 4 years, 40 weeks, all in all, are in the school, and then so it's like a sandwich. You meet at school 15 weeks, and you're a year in apprenticeship at the photographer, then back to school again for 10 weeks. And apprenticeship again, and so forth. And the last weeks are the final exam. Yeah. And the cool thing with this is, because I have also actually been teaching a little bit at other schools, I can really push the students a lot, because they're not here for more than these weeks at a time.
Okay.
And that creates a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Noticed this because when I came to another school, the energy was very low, and that's of course because you cannot push the students to just do their best for 2 full years in a row, or full year, But here, they you have a goal. Okay, I'm finished in 10 or 15 weeks. That's possible to live with. And it's from morning to afternoon, bam, 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 teaching stuff all the time. And they're really giving their best. And so it's really a lot down to the energy that is here. I love that. And then they're out in apprenticeship. And all of the students are at different places. So some are commercial photographers, others are architectural photographers, portrait photographers, and so forth. So they're all at different fields in photography. And when they then come back, they have gained some more learning, of course, and they can support each other. And this secures that that all the students that finish here, they don't have the same style, or because that is sometimes a risk. The school colors them too much with a style. Here it's a mixture of everything, because they are so much out in apprenticeship.
So you've got apprenticeships though, like apprenticeships exist. So does that mean, to flow on from that, there are jobs, good jobs for photographers in Europe? I know I sound silly asking this question, because in Australia, everybody has to make their own job in photography. You have to start up there is very few jobs in photography. In fact, the person I interviewed last was one of the few people I know who's actually got a job as a photographer being paid by somebody. So it works. It works where you are. There are people paying photographers and photographers being employed by companies. Yeah.
So there are bigger companies here, especially in commercial, like food photography and stuff like that. And this system with apprenticeship in school, it's been here for ages.
Yeah.
So it just works very nicely. And so one of the advantages with being a student, being so much out in work, is you know how it's out there before you finish as a student.
Yeah.
And this is also why it was very easy for me to get a job when I finished back in 2003. Because I was out there and I knew a lot of photographers and I knew how it was. I didn't have to learn a work process. I was in it already. So I actually read some facts about, like, we have educated about like 400 photographers during the years we have existed at school, and 90% of them are still working as photographers.
Wow. That's fantastic. Like,
so either you continue with the place where you had an apprentice as a photographer, or you start your own business.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's really good news to hear. I don't know what honestly, I do think we've done something wrong here in Australia with education, and I mean, it's not just photography. Every aspect of education has been suffering. I don't understand. We've had conservative governments fairly consecutively, and I don't know, but it's lovely to hear. I mean, we shouldn't dwell on it, but it means you've got a good job.
I love to hear.
And what aspect of photography are you teaching? Why have they employed you to teach?
It was actually a mystery for me back in the times, because I wasn't considering me as a very like technical student.
Yeah.
So I've always done my own work, artwork, during school time, but also a lot in the spare time. And then my former teacher, he was retiring.
Yeah.
And he contacted me. At that time, I had been working as a photographer in Norway for several years. After that, mainly as a portrait photographer. So he asked me, we need someone like you here, that loves to talk about pictures. I love to talk about pictures. They could see that already as me being a student. And then also, but it was more the art aspect of it that I could, times were changing. It was,
digital.
and especially with the digital photography, So they just wanted something new. Maybe also a woman. Before that it had only been men, male teachers. So
yeah. The industry's changed a lot, hasn't it? Like we see the male dominance of photography has definitely rolled over, and it's very much female dominated here in Australia, and I see worldwide very much so.
Yes, it's like here we have 50-50 male female students, and it's before that it was definitely dominated by men. You asked me about what I teach.
Yeah.
So we have, of course, still life, commercial photography, and portrait photography. Also, the final exam, 1/4 of it is actually with architectural photography.
Okay.
So they have to learn that. But I'm mainly teaching in the studios, lighting.
Yeah.
So and I love teaching lighting because it's a never-ending story of discovery, and I do a lot of projects on my own still, and it's this road of experiencing, and I see how the students works, and they inspire me a lot. So I teach lighting, and I teach posing and all of this, and I composition.
Yeah.
And color theory and all of that, and we are discussing evaluating pictures a lot, talking about them, talking about what makes a good picture, how to stop the audience to look at your picture, and so and we really try to. The higher up in the system the students get, the more experience they get here, the more they also learn to talk about the pictures and have a language to talk from. And it's really lovely to follow them, and see from the early stage and how they evolve.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite thing to do as well, to talk about pictures and try and read them and interpret them. And I mean, I love going to exhibitions and seeing artist statements as well, and trying to read the intention and then compare it with my view of the pictures. So I'm right with you there. It's a pity the medium that we're using here, whether it be the video that we're going to show on YouTube and Vimeo is going to be low resolution video, or people are going to be listening audio, because we want to talk about pictures, and that's what we're going to do a little bit about. We're going to have a look at some pictures. I'm going to share my screen because I've got some of Ragne's work prepared. And what we'll do is we'll put the pictures that we choose to talk about. I'll make a note of them, and I'll make sure they're on the website, so that if you're listening to the podcast, you can see the high quality stills on our website. And we'll also have links going back to Ragne's work and the school and things like that, so you can sort of explore and find out more about her. But I saw Gregory Crewdson speak, who is a fine art photographer. He came to Adelaide. I don't know why he came to Adelaide. Just like you, I don't know why you came to Adelaide. You guys graced us with your presence. But Gregory's work, you have to stand in front of a print.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you can hear an alarm here. It's because someone started it. I'm at work and people are leaving now, and the alarm went off. Anyways,
okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. You have to stand in front of it to see it, and I found that very much so with your work as well, that you want to be in front of it. So the poor people who are listening or watching this video will only get a bit of a look at it. Do you exhibit and show your work much physically?
Yeah, some years more than others. But it's very nice to get invited.
Yeah.
It's mainly here in Norway, but I've also exhibited a little bit in Denmark. Sorry, I got a little bit disturbed by the alarm.
That's right.
I'm going to pop out there and just tell the person that is there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So whilst Ragne's doing that, I am going to just quickly flip the screen here, and I'm going to go like that. So keep talking about exhibiting. You were just saying, I just thought whilst you weren't there, I would show the viewers a picture that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, tell me about exhibiting.
Yeah. I will actually talk about my main aim for exhibiting, because when I do my own personal work, that is super, super important for me to develop. And I call them my vitamin pills on a daily basis, because it makes me happy to work on my projects. And the students always, of course, they are always asking me, so why can we see your latest work and so forth. And I think it's important for them that they have a teacher that actually works with stuff herself. Anyways, the problem with personal projects is that you don't really have a deadline. You don't have a customer or someone saying, you need these pictures to be finished next week.
Yes.
So sometimes what's driving me, it's the urge to just be there, take the pictures, and then if I don't edit them very soon afterwards, they very often end up in some folders to work on later. And this happens very frequently, unfortunately. But the good thing is, with exhibitions, then I think, oh my God, I need to add something new now from last exhibition. And then I bring that work forward, and I can I can focus again on spending time on editing and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you're giving yourself a goal to work towards, and that pressure brings it out. Do you find there's a value in going back to pictures and walking away from them for a period and then coming back to them?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. A slow digestion period of the creativity.
Yeah. With some projects, I know immediately what pictures I want to work on. With other projects, it's been, maybe I'm a little bit like hesitant, and also, putting it for rest a little bit.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can bring it up 1 week after a month, maybe a year or more. Yeah. And it's very interesting to see. I find myself choosing other pictures than I would have done straight after the session. Yeah.
That's interesting. And I understand that, the value an image has, personal value, changes with time, and also with who's looking at the work and the meaning they attribute to it. And I mean, the picture we have up here was the first picture that I think I saw of your work, and it's very early in your the genre. You're working in the sort of Baroque period. Would you call it? That's very fancy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your Baroque period.
Yeah, pictorialist photography. Yeah, this thing with that I'm arranging the situations and the persons and everything. Yeah.
So this one but this was from what, 2006 or something, 2005.
Sorry, I cannot see the picture now. Can you describe it for me?
Oh, sorry. It's a woman walking away with the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fleeting. That's the title of it, yeah. So that was actually made back in 2002.
2002, wow.
Three. Actually, it was some work for my final exam. Picture was made from a combination of finding a fantastic location and having some materials to work with, the things she's wearing.
Yeah.
So she's wearing something that looks like extremely long veils of silk, but it's not the case. It's actually blue plastic. Oh. I got from my former boss. He said, we had this, we put it out on our floors while as we were painting with still a lot of meters left. Do you want it, or should we throw it out? I was like, of course, I can use this for something. And back then, materials to have stuff, props, it was the driving force for a lot of my, here we go, here we have the picture, for a lot of my projects. And and then I have my beautiful friend Annette that I worked with a lot back then, because she lived in the same town as me in southern Norway. And she came to Denmark because this location is in the north of Denmark. It's an extremely large area of sand dunes.
Yes.
The big sand dunes in Scandinavia. I mean, you don't have anything like this in Norway.
Oh.
This is Denmark, and it's just this kind of slowly wandering sand dunes that will cross the coastline from one side to the other in a couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
And this morning had been raining a little bit, so it was not like fleeting sand anymore. It was kind of patterns.
Yes.
In the tones of the sand, and I placed her in that, and then we're working with all these plastic flying around, and so it's a woman walking into this into some future, good future, uncertain future. I don't know. That's up to the spectator to find out. But
it's incredible for 2003. It's such a beautiful image, and you sort of, your eyes, you go into it and you follow her and you see where she's going, and you see her watching where she's walking and looking forward, and the sky is fabulously dramatic. So this series we've got here, I think you can still see the screen.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
There were the series you bought out, and
to Adelaide. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is, reuse of disposed materials, which really is what we're talking about with a lady in blue as well. So we've got some portrait series there, and further from this, and that's is that a fish skin?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
It is.
Poor guy.
It's just a little story for that picture. So it's a picture of a very light toned boy.
Yes.
It's actually one of my students from Iceland back then.
Yes.
One of my earliest years as teaching here. And he has these incredibly blue eyes.
Yes.
And I had originally I had another idea with him, but I was just an hour before he was showing up for the photo session. I was walking in the grocery store over here, and I found this smoked fish. And I was just thinking, oh my God, it looks so beautiful in those colors, and he's red-haired. So I just knew it would go so wonderful together. And he came to the photo session, and I took the other idea, shot that. I made those pictures first. I always do that, and then I end up with the crazy ideas at the end. The thing with saying to the models, I don't know how this will end, and but I just want to play with this material. And I was like, fish. So, yeah. And you can see on his gaze here, his look, that he's a little bit like, but I think it's cool.
Yes, but he's also it also could be mistaken for don't mess with me, and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm Neptune's half brother or something.
Yeah, and you're right about that, and that's also, I think, was my aim for the picture. With a slightly lower camera angle, he's looking down on you, and it's like inspired from older paintings, Rembrandt and so forth. It's a combination of flash technique and painting with torch flashlight.
Yes.
So
do you find yourself looking at lighting techniques from the old masters and incorporating that, or is this just photography portraiture 101? Like the basic lighting, or are you really studying a Vermeer and seeing how Vermeer might light things? Or
I really find inspiration in a lot of paintings, the old masters, and I think it's lying in the back of my head when I'm working on those on my projects.
Yeah,
definitely, and especially the thing with being very accurate with the light. Like Caravaggio, for example, as well. That's really, really the mood in those paintings are amazing.
Caravaggio is incredible. So I just in looking at the folders you sent through to me, let's hop to the most recent work out of interest, because you've called this Corona time photos. And so these are wanderings where you must maintain isolation. And we've got a good mix here, but I'm going to take you straight to something that I love, and all my friends will know this, that I'm such a fan of boats. This is just a snap from your phone, isn't it? Are you taking it at a village?
Yeah. So in Corona times, you of course I cannot use a lot of models that I normally would choose between. It's either I take pictures of my kids, or I take pictures of things, or I take pictures of myself, use myself as a model. Yes. And of course, having more spare time before, and of course enjoying a lot of nice quality time with family, we used this opportunity to take the car 2 hours up north and visit this place. It's very, very peculiar nature. I had seen it on a Facebook feed from some friends of mine the week before, and I was like, whoa, I need to see this place. Of course, thinking about it as a future possible photo location. Yes. But to bring the family there and have a nice walk and enjoy these surroundings, that was the aim for that day. And then I just took these pictures, and then this boat was just lying there on the grass. Yeah. And those clouds kind of just puffing on the after, it's really, I love those. It's a picture with some humor in. I love that.
It is. It's really charming. It's a fish out of water, metaphor. So you were talking earlier about your personal work, and that it's quite composed. You find the location. So, back in this section here, I was looking at, there's some waterways and some interesting hills with dramatic drop-offs. So you'd be seeing these locations and going, oh, I've got to come back here. And then from this, would a concept develop from there? Yeah.
So a concept develops from the location. And then I figure out what kind of models I'll bring up there, what kind of clothes they will wear, and so forth. So it's either the location that it's the trigger for an idea, or it's persons I meet on the street, or other, or materials that I find.
Okay.
That was very often the case before in my earlier work.
Okay, so you've got a selfie here. So you've obviously found a bit of bubble wrap lying around or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually kind of an acrylic scarf.
Oh, right.
And it would not be something I would wear, but it's the texture of it that I liked when I found it in a secondhand store. So I was just seeing the possibilities with it, and I was tidying up in my attic, because that is also something, a lot of people, many people have had time to tidy up these days, these weeks. Me too. And I have a lot of stuff. I am really a collector of a lot of stuff. And I found this scarf again. I was like, wow, I haven't used this one. So that was the kind of the starting point for that. And just breaking it down to very simple photo shoot, putting the camera up, putting this scarf very tightly over my face so it would be like a second skin.
Yes.
And then start to light paint. I hold the flashlight. Do you call it a flashlight or a torch in Australia?
Yeah, same thing. We understand that, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I don't know what to use, but yeah. Anyway, so... and I'm putting light on myself during those seconds that I try to sit still or move a little bit, and so and with 9 or 10 different exposures, it always ends up in something interesting among those photos.
Yeah, I mean the movement is just enough.
I have no idea how you made it, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, it's to be a hard thing to reproduce. Often with light painting images, you see. Traditional ones where you're using a torch or to illuminate something, you can create a very soft, evenly lit thing. But just looking at the few light paintings you've done, this tree I found absolutely mesmerizing. That is so Beautifully done. What sort of a torch are you using for that?
This is a 3,000 lumen strong torch.
Okay.
I also have a 8,000 lumen torch.
Wow.
It's very strong. Yeah. So of course I have torches for a lot of different strengths and powers. Yeah. So, but for this tree, I mean, they are very tall, so you need a strong torch.
Yeah.
And the thing with trees is that they're definitely virus free. That's nice to know. And they're and they're just standing there, and there are objects that people pass by every day without maybe noticing, and then you put some light on them after sunset, and they just come up there, and they're just so beautiful figures. And this tree here that we are looking at now, it's this white birch tree, and it's exposed towards a very black sky, so it's just white and black, and then it's a single little street light next to it. Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. And so these are just the things that you've been doing whilst you've been locked down, and well, that's fantastic. So tell me, what else should we look at in this? We've got still life, faces. Oh, we've done faces. Decay. Should we have a look at decay?
Yeah.
So
because that is also to do with the objects and not persons.
Okay, so these are things you've found. So I'm looking at a piano. Is it in a in a collapsed house, or just been left on a rubbish dump or something?
No, it's actually out in, just dumped out in nature outside the building. It's actually outside a school in northern Denmark, and I visited the school, and it's one of the teachers. He had put this grand old piano out there, and I had actually been playing on that piano a couple of years before this. Yeah, and then I saw it, and I was like, wow, So it had been lying there for more than a year. And the nature had started to take over, and it was just so, it was sad and melancholic and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
And I just knew that I had to take a picture of it, and I've actually followed up with more photos because I'm thinking about following it with the decay and time. And I've also been up there when it was some snow last year. So, and eventually, this grand old piano will just end up like a little pile of soil, and it's back to nature. And
so you've light painted this as well, have you? Illuminated it?
Yeah, definitely light painting. Yeah. And you can see a lot of smoke around it. Yeah. So it looked like some fog came into the picture.
Yeah.
And that's one of those methods that I've developed myself. It's still a little bit of daylight. It's after sunset, but still some light left. And I'm running around with a white sheet, a bed sheet.
Yes.
So I'm flying and running around. It looks like I look crazy. And of course, the sky is reflected down in this white fabric and leaves. And when you move it fast enough, it leaves smoke like this.
Oh, it's so
then I painted the piano with my torch there.
That's just so beautiful.
I think that this is totally photoshopped because you cannot find grand pianos out in nature like this, but it definitely exists. Not like this. I was
going to say, even your rubbish is beautiful.
Even that's true. I love how things take different shapes with time. So that's also some of the other pictures in this series.
Yeah, let's have a quick look. Which other one would you like to look at?
It's actually all the three of them. They're pumpkins,
Okay, yep, gourds, pumpkins. Yeah.
The decoration pumpkins that you can find outside stores, especially here.
Yes.
And so just a little story with these pictures, because I found them very fascinating. They were outside the store, and I looked at them, and I immediately saw that some of them looked like birds.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, wow, and I was supposed to just buy food and be there in that grocery store for 10 minutes. And I was standing out there for at least 45 minutes looking at all these and figures, and I came home with 10 or 15 of them, and my husband was like, oh my god, what have you brought home now? And I said, we are in the middle of moving from one place to the other, so this was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but I can use them in a photo project. We don't have time for that now. He says, I'll just put them in a bag, and I kind of forgot about them. And then when I found them again, of course, they had some mold had grown on them. But then I was like, wow, they look even more beautiful now. And then on purpose, I left them out in our new garage. And it was a little bit humid out there. It was that time of the season. And they developed and they dried out, and and then eventually I took them in and I light painted them. And this was for an exhibition I had a year ago. Yeah. And people were very fascinated by these birds because, you couldn't immediately see what it was. And then was like, wow, it's
they're just so beautiful. Yeah. And I think there's something about the light painting technique that softens, it's light that we don't often see with our eyes because our eyes work very differently. And yet it's not unfamiliar. It's strange. You certainly can make light painting unnatural, and you haven't done that. It does look like, reasonable lighting. It doesn't look unnatural, HDR or something crazy. It has a great feel to it. And do you process these images a lot afterwards?
Not much. I really, really try to do as much as I can in the take. I have family now. I have 2 kids, and they take a lot of that occupies a lot of my time. Of course, it should. So when they are in bed, I focus on my on editing, and then I don't have that much time, So so I and besides that, I really, really love trying to make most of it in the take. That's a lovely challenge.
Yeah.
Just a little comment on light painting. The thing with like the first one, the yellow bird that you looked at.
Yes.
It looks like they're been put up like in the studio with like 6 different small lamps that are aiming for different spots on the bird. And this is the interesting thing with the light painting, because I can go really, really, really close. I light paint with like a distance of 5 centimeters on these objects. So I can be very, very, very accurate and place the lights on very peculiar places and shape them, and then look at the camera. Oh, yes. And then, yeah. And by the way, with these pictures, I work with an Olympus camera, and they have, I don't know if you know about it, but they have a feature called Live Composite.
No, have you heard about it? Tell me.
Aha. So the thing is, normally with long exposure times, you cannot see what you do on the display while as you are light painting. Yes. You push your button and then, the picture develops on the screen after you have taken it. But the thing with this live composite is that you can see every light stroke you make during the exposure.
That's fantastic. That makes it so much easier to do this fine work.
Yeah. So I have now become a painter. Like with painters, you start with a blank, empty screen. Yes. As you do with light painting, because everything's just black in the room where inside a house and a little studio, everything's black, and then you start to develop the motive in front of the camera with the light stroke after light stroke. And with now I'm a painter, I can control. So if you made a light stroke, I cannot say Control Delete, I cannot regret it. So then I have to just stop the exposure. But it's really, really cool, because sometimes things happen and I was like, wow, that was not my intention, but this looks cool. Let's just continue on this road. And so I actually work a little bit differently with light painting now than I used to do like 10 years ago when I really started to light paint, because then it was, the normal way with a Nikon or a then I was, I was kind of more working only with my everything I knew about putting light on, and but I didn't know anything about what I had made before the exposure was finished. But now I can actually control it a lot better, and I do longer exposures now.
And plus, so you would start to learn your torches or your flashlights and what they're going to do at 5 centimeters. You get a feel for it, but you learn so much quicker with a tool like that Olympus. That sounds great.
So when I teach light painting now, this is an amazing tool for the students, because they immediately know what they did. And the interesting thing is, when you work on this picture, you make some light strokes, and the challenge is when to stop. Because original, just with a long exposure of like 50 seconds, you just light paint whatever you have time to do within those 50 seconds. But here, you have whatever time you want.
Yes.
So the challenge is actually to say, when am I finished?
Yeah. So that's the challenge of all artworks, is when to walk away. When even Photoshop, manipulation, you can chase it and chase it and chase it, but I've always thought, and this is when people question, I get someone else to do my Photoshop work. Well, you're not really doing the work. Well, that's not actually the case. You're directing the person doing the work, and you're telling them, and you're showing your good taste and saying, stop now. This is what I want. You've done it. That's a big thing to understand, when it's too much and just enough and all that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's great. So I've got we've got Still Life, and I've called this one, I know you didn't call this folder Pregnancy, but it features a lot of pregnant women.
Yeah.
So what's this series about?
It's about me.
This is your story of becoming a mother.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love this. There's good humor in there, but also a sense of foreboding and what is coming,
Yeah. The waiting process, and how to have different, your body is in different states. It's just, you have all these forms, and I've been pregnant 2 times now. The first time I didn't do any photo shoots with myself, but people have always asked me, why don't you use yourself as a model? But I did never really find a theme to work with. And then I got pregnant the second time. This was in 2014. And suddenly I was just like, whoa, I'm feeling so good being pregnant, and I'm going to use myself as a model the next months to come. So, and in Denmark here, in Scandinavia, you have, with my type of work, you have 2 months of maternity leave before.
We have maternity leave here, yeah. Oh, before?
Yeah, so before, 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
we're moving to Denmark.
So the thing was then that, of course, I just sent my son to the kindergarten in the morning, and then it was all playtime with myself the rest of the day before my husband came back, and doing dinner and all of that. But those hours between there, that was amazing. That was an amazing period. I found all these locations, and the theme was standing out, blending in. So for those who cannot see the pictures, it's all about my shapes, bigger butt, bigger belly, and so forth. And I'm really trying to blend into the surroundings, but it's not possible. So it's kind of that's the humor with those pictures.
Yeah.
And it was so it was different places around in Aarhus where I live.
They're so beautiful.
And it was
these are selfies. These are all you've exposed these yourself, right?
Yeah, and one of the places you can
Which
one of the places, and just to tell a little fun story as well. I was driving around, and I had just 2 full bags with clothes that could fit in any kind of environment. If I found a tree with flowers, I would have pants with flowers on, or I would have a dress like the one we're looking at now. I bought this very, very tight dress that's just really tight into my body, and I just knew that color would stand out like shape with among other shapes.
Yes.
Yeah. And the two last pictures we've been looking at is from the same place. It's the little mountain in the background there. It's,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's this one here, the green.
Yeah, that's the first picture we're looking at now. That's when I'm pregnant. So my initial thought was just to take that picture and never come back there. So it's actually a grave tomb in the background from the Bronze Age.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So and it's a lot of these in Denmark. And it's a tree growing next to it, and it's just this shape, it's like, I was just thinking combination, ickle of the belly of my shape and the little hill in the background, looking at the tree there, and always working on anonymizing my face, because it was not supposed to be about me in particular. It was supposed to be a feeling about being a woman, being pregnant, in different surroundings.
Yeah.
And then the day after I took this picture, I was in this swim class with other pregnant women. And then a lot of older women came in there afterwards, and they were looking at us, and we can just see them jiggling, talking about, oh, do you remember back then? So long time ago, blah, 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 And I just saw this time gap from these young women, I was among them, and the older ladies. And then suddenly I was like, oh my God, the location I visited yesterday, it was all about time. So that gave me the idea to go back to the same place when my daughter was... Yes.
That is such a beautiful picture. That is incredible.
And yeah, so I put so it's just her and me. I put the camera on a tripod and a timer, and the exact same position, the exact same place, but just another time of year. It's it came a little bit of snow that morning, and it's lying on top of all the green plants there. And I was so fortunate to have this little gust of wind swiping over, dragging the cloth I was wearing there back, and then she had this amazing gaze into the camera. I didn't know that happened, but when I looked through the pictures afterwards, I was like, oh my God, there we go. Yeah.
That's incredible. It's just so beautiful. And you've gone back again when she's older, huh?
Yeah. And then, so different, the farmer has other stuff on the field there. It's some kind of corn, I don't know. Grain. Yeah. So of course, again, I have brought clothes that goes well with the surroundings, the background, so that I more or less blend in, but she's more in focus. Yes. And again, we have anonymized our faces, and I took a lot of pictures, and she wore shoes, but I didn't think any of the pictures had that feeling to it. So I was like, it's like being on a hunt. I was like, what am I supposed to do now to get the photo? And then I took off her shoes, and then she just tied her feet tightly against my belly. And she was like, Mommy, I'm freezing. And I was like, yes, but we're only going to take these 2 pictures. And then so the fabric that is in the wind behind her, that is my hand actually just puffing it up. So it would look like it was more wind there, and give some atmosphere to the picture, and so that was the moment. It just happened again. So it's very exciting to go back to this place again and again with her. And I don't know when this story stops. I don't know when this series will end. Is it in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Will we still be living in Denmark at that time? And so forth. But the one thing I know is that grave tomb will always lie there. And the tree will grow taller and taller and taller. Yeah,
it's so beautiful. And the little your daughter's looking at the camera. There's a period in a life where a child doesn't matter. They don't really think what other people think. And I see with you concealing. I mean, this is just me reading it, but with you concealing your face and your identity. It's a grown-up concept that we in sometimes we want to remove ourselves from and not be the center and that. But at that age, as a little baby, you don't get those things. So what you've got here is a child going through, a woman going through this period, but also the child becoming, to me, feeling like a bit of self-awareness in hiding there as well. There's so many little stories, and as you said, that the bump, like the pregnancy bump, but this is a bump of funerary bump,
Yeah. It's
magic.
It's all about circle of life.
That's right.
We get born and we live life, and then we die, and it starts all over again.
It does. So let's go to the still life folder, because these are incredible. Are these? When was this work done? Is this older work or recent?
These are pretty recent work. Two of them are, I can describe them. There are photos of women lying down. It looks like they're floating.
Yes. Okay, so I'll pick one up here.
So this is done with my Nikon camera. This is one of my first really elaborate work with light painting. I developed the method actually from an idea I got from just walking in a museum, seeing a painting, and then suddenly the idea was just there. I knew how I was thinking, how can I work with layers in real life and not in Photoshop?
Right. Oh.
So yeah. So so this is actually a video, YouTube video. Also, if you search my name on the YouTube, you can see how I made this. So she's actually lying on glass table, and the supporting system for the table is hidden behind her back, so you cannot see it. So it really looks like she's floating. So, and I've also put transparent layers up on top of her.
Yes.
Also covered, painted it with some fog spray and stuff like that. So so instead of doing the filters in Photoshop, I did it in the shoots. And of course it appears differently depending on how I aimed my lights.
Yeah, of course.
It will go forth. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Course, with long exposure times, I could light paint the hair, and I can move the hair a little bit, and I could light paint it again, and then it gets, it has this floating feeling to it, and then dragging some fabric over her body while I'm taking it, and while I also light painting that fabric, of course, and it all looks like she's floating in water, for example, and very often when I made these pictures, I had the eyes of the models closed, like they're dreaming.
Yes.
In the other example, she has open eyes, and one of the other pictures.
It's remarkable. I'll go to the others. Let's have a look. That would be this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the exposure on the face is, you're painting the face as well, but she's holding the expression for the few seconds it takes to illuminate her face, but the rest you're playing with. Where you want something sharp, you're doing a more intense painting.
Mm-hmm. And when I want it blurry, I move that part of the picture, the hair or the clothes she's wearing or stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
This is actually one of the few professional models that I have used. So she's from a model agency, and very often I use people that I find fascinated in everyday life. That could be students of mine, it could be people I meet in the streets, and so forth. Because so many people, sometimes I just say, wow, it may be that you're not a professional model, but you definitely have something that can be very interesting in front of the camera.
So how long do you torture them for? Like, torture, that's I didn't mean to say torture, but you had to pay this person. There must have taken a while to create this image, and the other one. How long were they in this position for?
Maybe for 1.5 hours at the most.
Oh, that's pretty good, really.
Yeah, but it's very hard. Yeah. You can imagine, it's just to lie down is kind of convenient.
Yes.
But to lie down on a pretty hard surface and in very particular positions, that's hard. of course, I have put. They're not lying on the cold glass surface. They're lying on a flamingo, like some warm. Yeah.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Put under them, so they're not freezing that much, at least. And of course, a heating machine next to them to blow some air, so that they're not suffering too much.
That's very kind of you. That's very kind. So you must be very comfortable stopping people and say, hey, you're interesting, come and let me take a photograph of you. That takes quite it's a difficult thing to do for a lot of people to stop people. Is that something you developed through the years, or were you uncomfortable originally?
Yeah, I was. But then as my technique grew, when I knew that when I met models, I would always see, I'm very sure of that we can make some very nice photos of you. But I would never push them. When I met them, I would give them my visit card, and I would guide them to my website and say, please have a look at my work and call me, write me an email. And I don't know if I have a project with you the next month, but maybe in a year from now.
Yes.
And then I develop a model catalog, and I take them into account when I found a location or some clothes or whatever, and I said, wow, that model would be perfect for this occasion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I get that. Hey, tell me about this piece here, the gentleman in the corner with a teddy bear.
Yeah. So talking about that, my style of course, is different, a little bit different from 10 years ago or more, and until now. In the old days, to call it that, I used mainly models at my own age, but now I use models with a lot of different shapes of body and also different ages. Yes. So this is an old man sitting in a corner inside a very, very remarkable, peculiar room. It's shaped like a triangle, and I have no idea what this room was for initially, but I found it on a fire station that was run down. It was not functioning anymore.
Yes.
And I was invited to. It was actually in my old town in Arendal, where I had my apprenticeship, and I was invited to hold a workshop with light painting. And I found this room in there, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So I made one, practice in there to show them what we could do there. And then next time I visited this town, I invited some of those people who had been on this workshop to join me for a full day photo session, just to be there for an hour at a time. So this old man, he came there, and then afterwards one of the other participants came, and so forth. So I just had a long, a time schedule for them to meet. And then I made different stories, and it was always in this triangle, in this very, very narrow room that ended up in this,
again, another great location.
Yeah, it was a great location. And the sad part is that they torn this station down, so this room doesn't exist anymore. Oh. But yeah, there was this just bare bulb hanging up in the ceiling. And then, so if anyone can see the picture, it's yellow light from the bulb up there. Yes. But it looks like I kind of splooshed some, what is it called, some painting, some blue.
Yeah, I can see that.
Painted, but it's actually just the white balance on the camera is set on the bulb in the ceiling. And then when I come with my flash or my torch, that is have a lot of colder light compared to that, the camera catches it as blue light like this. So I kind of like this combination of two different colors.
It's almost like it's solarized. So there's a little bit of overexposure in the light painting that's creating that really hot look on his face and on the bear and on the shoes. Yeah, it's a great picture. So the story that you're looking at here, what are you asking the viewer to see in it? Is it something about, again, the cycle of life and getting older
Yeah, I'm happy that you asked that question, because this has something to do with my own journey as well, with how I work with props and persons.
Yes.
So in a lot of projects, I have brought my own stuff and put that on the persons. But for this occasion, this old man came, and I was thinking, I don't really have anything to put on him of my stuff. So in beforehand, I asked him, please, can you bring something that means a lot to you, something that is dear to you? And he showed up with this eccentric hat and this beautiful beer, little toy beer that is like 60 years old or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it was his own beer from his childhood. So he's holding it there, and with this very kind of, I don't know, what would you say about his look there? Is it grumpy, or is it?
It's like he's protecting the bear from someone who wants to take it away.
Yeah,
He's sitting like a toddler would sit. Maybe a toddler wouldn't lean back like that, but I know from my hamstrings wouldn't let me lean forward in that position at any rate. And I'm just turning 50 this year. So, but it's sort of a toddler's look, but it's a toddler in a corner, put in a corner, and he looks like someone is taking his youth away from him, or his.
That's interesting interpretation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
He's really grabbing all to that toy bear, so don't take it,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
That's my perspective here. Yeah.
So we've been speaking for over an hour, and it's probably time we should it's been it's been an absolutely wonderful hour. I can't believe, as you said, wow, the time is just it's flown by. And is there anything that, I mean, we don't have to stop now, but I wanted to close, but I wanted to ask you, is there anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about?
Yeah. I think what I always tell my students is that when they are at school, they are always occupied with tasks that we give them, and they are working very efficiently with that. But it's a problem when they go out in apprenticeship and they work with their masters, and some of them they lose that energy or force to work on their own projects when they're not forced to do it from the teachers. That is something I experience every now and then, and I've given this a lot of thought. And sometimes I think, why is this? Is it because they think too elaborate about their ideas, or is it too hard to get started on a photo project? And that's why I would just say it's important to just always keep on going. Like way back, I was playing the piano for many years, and that was all about exercising every day, and it was not beautiful always, but eventually you would get better at it,
Yeah.
And you need to practice as a photographer, and not always think about the task as being the photo. I'm going to make something great now, because then you put too much pressure on yourself, especially if you're not doing this on a weekly basis. So it's just, I think, to cool down, bring things apart and just simplify it and think, how can I make a great project with as few
complications or something like that?
As little complications as possible, And that is how, like in these Corona times, instead of stopping taking pictures, because I don't have a model.
You haven't stopped.
No, I haven't stopped. You have to think otherwise. And that's the beauty of this period we're in, because people are really thinking, okay, so I cannot do that. Well, I have to think differently. And that is why I suddenly experienced, I've really become a tree lover these past few weeks, because, when I find it when I drive home, now I'm seeing possible trees, photo models all the times, and I get happy from that. I'm like, wow, this could be great. And this, it's all about keeping your brain occupied with possible projects and think creatively. And the same thing with starting to use myself, as a model, selfies with light painting stuff. Yep. I'm thinking, okay, I have half an hour now. What can I make within half an hour? Maybe it will be cool, maybe not at all. But just let's see where the road leads me. And very often, just by playing, something happens. And sometimes like, wow, this was cool. Next time, I'll advance in this road and make it better, And so instead of just sitting behind a writing desk thinking everything, you need to be out there. You need to put your fingers in the stuff and just do what I would call, back to the piano thing, practice stuff. Not thinking about it as being potential big projects, but just use it as practice stuff. Maybe something cool will come out, maybe not, but at least you practiced. And that's important, to just keep yourself going. That's,
Yeah. I think you're so right. My youngest Josephine, she's a bit of a perfectionist, and I think a lot of creators become perfectionists because they like when they do great things, and so what they do is they try and make everything they do great, and that's just not possible.
No, no one, no, and that goes to your self-esteem, because you cannot do fantastic projects all the time. You cannot. I don't either. So
yeah. And so you've just, your work is amazing. You teach students, so you see this all the time with the people you're teaching. I mean, it's great advice. It's, and the thing is, you've got to be driven as well. And I can see that you're a very restless person with your creatively, and it results in some incredible work. So there is a cost to it, and I'm sure your family feel your absence at times, but they would be inspired, and they will have, a fabulous person that in their life that draws them through it.
Yeah. I've told them, if I cannot have the possibility to do my stuff, I'm not a good person to be together with. I mean, I need to do this to be me. To be to be able to give something to others and to have a smile on my face.
That's
most days.
Oh, you can't be up all the time. It's too much to ask of anybody. But look, Ragne, thank you so much. This has been such a joy. And time has whisked by, and I've learnt a hell of a lot. I've been reintroduced to your work, and I know people are going to be pretty thrilled to look at this. We'll work out a way of making sure that we'll put the high-res images in the video. I'll do something. Kate and I will do something to ensure that people get to see these as best they possibly can. And then maybe we'll check in on you in 6 months' time or something like that. And I know you've got a challenge coming up because your college has been closed. And it's about to be online. And this for you is an early attempt at getting some education. I mean, this is not what we started doing, but I learnt tonight that you're having to work this out. So I hope this has been a little bit helpful. You've done a fantastic job. And
thank you very much. It's been very interesting for me to try out to show my face on the screen like this. And to try online project
well
like
done.
This.
And I'm sure we'll talk to you again in the future, and I wish you all the best and all the health and safety for you and your family with this difficult time.
Mm-hmm. And thank you so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure, Ragne. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call that quits now, Ragne, and I'll stop the recording and we'll cut the end of it. And this was really lovely. I don't think there's any need to edit anything except making sure the images look good and that we can show them good work.
This was just taken from my website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I think if I put this work on our website, I think it'll look good. If I have any questions about that, I'll shoot you a message back and we can replace them. I'm not sure whether this episode will go out Sunday.
No.
Because I've got some from, as I mentioned, our web gallery partners. I'd like to let it out Sunday, but we'll see where we're at. And as soon as I'm ready to go live with it, I'll let you know as well. And And I think it's a real success. It's a great episode. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Okay.
I'm very happy that we went through with it.
I am too.
Yes.
I genuinely am.
Yeah. So the light is still good here, and
it's very good. It's very good. It's very good. Well, stay safe.
Same to you.
See you.
Okay. Will you just go through the episode and then point out the pictures that you would like me to?
Yeah. If I need to replace any, then I will. I've written down the ones that we've talked about. But frankly, I think it would be nice to have most of them on there in various galleries, because I think people will want to see a little bit more. But you're happy with the resolution of these because they worked on your website. I don't want to give anyone away. I can see they're watermarked, so they'll be, they should be as safe as they can be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. Yes. Thank you for leading me through this.
It's a pleasure. And good luck. And good luck with everything in the next few months. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks to you. Ciao.
We'll do a mega cut of you clapping.
It'll be flamenco. It'll be proper flamenco. Like.
It's so good.
You'll be changing outfits, but I'll be in black like Johnny Cash. Hey, I hope you enjoyed.
You got to remember all the names. Give me the full name again. Her full
Ragne
name.
Christine Sigmond.
Oh, it's so good.
It's an awesome name. I hope you enjoyed her session. It was a really, really cool thing to do.
And I hope that the kick up the ass at the end.
Yeah, everyone takes it.
I know. I was like,
baby.
yeah, I need to just do some stuff and just be doing it. And
do you want to play it for Josephine?
And not, yes, Josephine, our daughter.
Yeah. No, it was cool. And the interview, we finished it after midnight. It was.
Really?
We started about 9, and we're back and forthing. She went away while she saw it because she wasn't sure of the format and the way it was going to work. But I think it worked really well.
I thought it was excellent.
So she's a teacher, right?
Yeah.
She's a teacher. I graduated.
You graduated,
well,
finally.
I got my marks for my first class.
What in? Tell the
Art
people.
appreciation for photographers, and have a look.
What'd you get? Now, for the podcast listeners,
I'm holding up a thing that said F
for
fantastic,
fuckwit,
fabulous, fabulous. I actually got a distinction. He wrote F there for fun.
F for fun.
Here's my actual grade. So I got
and
80%.
So let me do the reading. Distinction of 80%. Paul has chosen to pre-work his current. Oh, hells no. I can't read this shit. I can't read that. A nice reference, something, harbour related, something. Gavin, improve on the handwriting. Love your work, but the handwriting.
So that was with the Centre for Creative Photography.
Yeah.
It was my...
You've had so much fun doing that.
It is.
It's been
amazing.
really, really good.
Art appreciation for photographers. They've just pivoted to online education.
Oh, with the glory of G.
With the glory of G Greenslade, who will be a guest as well as Gavin at some stage in the future.
Yep.
So if you are interested in doing some online education, I don't think Ragne's quite at the point where they can offer out to international students.
They'll get there. They'll all get there. I mean, in a minute, we won't have to do anything and we'll be at Harvard.
Yes, that's right.
If we could be bothered.
Well, the Harvard of Photography Education is the Centre for Creative Photography here in Adelaide.
Is it? Oh,
isn't that
good? That's
anyway, I got a good mark and I really enjoyed it. So there you go.
It's a great class.
Wonderful.
Great course.
And I think we'll probably touch on art appreciation because it's something that's at the heart of your degree and study. It's a big passion of mine. I've got other guests who take inspiration from great masters and understand the lineage of art to where we are now, to what's making contemporary. And that's so important.
Especially in photography, because photography's, I think, positioned in a way that it hasn't been in the past within
Yeah, and it's certainly accepted as an art form. So it's to be a professional artist, it's important to understand how all that stuff works. But
and to be serious if you're seriously interested in art in photography, you can't separate art that is any other medium and just say, oh, well, I think, modern art's shit, but I like photography art. Well, sorry, You can't do that. You got to actually have an understanding and appreciation of art, full stop, photography.
Especially if you want photography to be a part of the art world.
Yeah, and as photographers, you should try and play around in other mediums, just as artists of other types play in other mediums. So you might be primarily a sculptor, but you'll play around with watercolor or oils or multimedia, whatever. You can't. This idea that you're a photographer or an artist is just if you're into that kind of of work with photography. 100%. It's different if you're a photographer and you're shooting weddings and families. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have that fight? Can we have that fight? That's not art.
So let's
because it's not art, bitches.
Now it's time for your moment of colour.
I'm not allowed to. Look at you. You're shutting it down.
She can't. When I have Gavin on here, he would argue against that point you just made.
Oh, so fuck me dead.
Let's not go
really?
there. Yes.
All right.
Your moment of colour.
Yeah, my moment of colour. It's your moment of colour.
You're in red today.
Yeah, well, you know.
Our moment of colour.
Perked myself up today.
It's very red.
Because I was
and blue too.
all black and depressed emo girl last week. And now I'm perky.
Now she's perky and all bright and fluffy.
Perky and...
But you're not wearing the colour of our moment of colour because the
colour... No, because it's too bloody hard to get organised and you don't tell me until I'm dressed.
Because the colour is pink.
Pink.
So this is from Cassia St. Clair's book, The Secret Lives of Colour. Thank you, Cassia St. Clair.
Have we skipped over red?
No, red's still to come.
Okay.
Well, we all know that pink was not a colour like red that had to be made. They just added a bit of white to red and pink came about, right?
Do we all know that, do we?
No, maybe people didn't know that. But pink itself wasn't one of those core, I mean, it's not a base colour, but it was a colour that was made by diluted red, basically. Mm-hmm. So there was no great history of evolution of red, but pink as a colour was actually quite an interesting thing. I've got a couple of things to mention about it. You know the pink is for girls and blue is for boys thing?
Yeah.
So, according to Cassia here, so this is 1893, right? This is in the New York Times. So it's a newspaper that's still running.
Yeah.
In 1893...
I have a subscription.
There's an article on baby clothes in the New York Times. You have a subscription, do you?
To the New York Times? Yeah.
Cool. Should share it with me.
No, that would be cheating.
Oh, okay. So this is 1893 in an article on baby clothes the rule stated that you should always give pink to a boy and blue to a girl. That's the opposite, isn't it? We think pink for girls, blue for boys. Neither the author nor the woman in the shop who she was interviewing were quite sure why, but the author hazarded a tongue-in-cheek guess. The boy's outlook is much more roseate than the girl's, she wrote. That is enough to make a girl, baby blue, think of living a woman's life in the world. In 1918, a trade publication affirmed that it was generally accepted rule because pink was a more decided and stronger colour, while blue was more delicate and dainty.
Ooh.
This is probably closer to the real explanation.
Well, as a lover of blue,
Cassia.
Blue is my favourite colour. So I will
Interesting,
agree.
isn't it? And so now we think that pink is for girls and we associate that colour. There's some interesting other research on pink, which I found absolutely interesting. The Baker Miller pink there was a belief for a period there that you could, they were painting the inside of prison cells pink. And there was a certain amount of initial sketchy research that calmed people down and created Isn't
there some horrible guy in the States that dresses his prisoners in pink to emasculate them?
I think it was a part of this research, but it's been shown that it's not actually that helpful, when they actually do a proper double-blind scientific study. But the interesting thing about a pink I've said two interesting things. The thing about pink I want to mention, whereas Kate and I did a project and made some books with the Adelaide Botanic Gardens, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the books we made was this one called Botanical Riches.
Yeah.
Which we don't need to...
I didn't do anything with that.
No, you didn't, but you were part of the whole wider project of getting the Museum of Economic Botany looking great and that kind of stuff, and it's an incredible building. One of the books, the oldest book that I touched and photographed because I was copying books for the project, was a 1542 book.
Wow.
Okay, 1542, a little while ago. So handling a book like that was...
It's a few years after you were born.
A few years after I was born. Bitch. So one of the book was written by a fella called Fuchs. I know you'd laugh at it because it sounds like the F word. Fuchs. And of course, he
German man by any chance?
He had described, and what's the name? Yes, he was German. Cool. He had described in his book, what was his book called? Because I can never remember. The Notable Commentaries of the Histories of Plants. Of course, it was in Latin originally, and I don't want to have a go at Latin right now. But of course, what did he describe? The fuchsia plant, named after Fuchs. What is fuchsia?
Pink.
There you go. Isn't that exciting? No,
I don't get it.
It's not really fun. So this is your moment of colour pink. So fuchsia is the typical pink, is a very typical, one of the defining artistic pinks. Fuchsia has been about it.
It's a great
and it's one of those colours that has been pulled into fashion, jewellery.
Yeah, I love it.
And painting and art. And and the connection is that the botanist Fuchs discovered it, and it was his. And then you and I had worked on projects with the botanical. I'm drawing a long bow.
This is like Kevin Bacon, isn't it? 6 degrees of pink.
6 moments of...
And bacon is pink.
Oh, my God, you did it. Mind equals blown.
And I would like to add some pink information. That anyone who has daughters knows that there's a certain period of time where they just wear pink.
Correct.
And
pink.
all you do is make everything in your life pink until you feel nauseous 24/7. Yeah. And we used to do whole fucking loads of laundry with just their little pink, bloody everything pink. And how I got my kids to eat creamy pasta and fucking, what was it? The pancakes with apples in them was by pureeing a bit, pro tip for the parents, puree a little bit of
beetroot.
You puree it till there's nothing left, like super smooth.
So it becomes a dye.
Yeah, and you just chuck that in everything and it makes everything pink and it doesn't taste any different. Yeah. And then they would eat it.
The pink pancakes and pink pasta.
The pink pancakes and the pink pasta.
They loved it.
And then they turned on a dime and they were like, I will never wear pink again. I'm going to throw all that shit out.
The other thing that I probably would say about pink that we should think about, photographically is the sort of fluorescent pinks and any fluorescent colour for that matter too, because you see a highlighter pen or you see a shirt that's in a fluorescent colour and you try and reproduce.
And everyone gets sad because it never looks like it does on the screen.
The fact is it's a colour that fluoresces under ultraviolet light. And a part of that process of that colour reacting or that dye reacting is it kicks actually more light out in the visible spectrum than you would expect. So it's an event of the dye. We don't have that dye when it comes to printing in our fine art printing or our matte art printing or our photographic printing. We don't have that dye in there. We just got RGB and CMYK and all the variations of that. And fluorescents aren't a part of that. So if hot pink's your thing, there's a real limit to how hot your pink can get.
Yeah, you really have to go to pre-organised dyes like Pantone ink that is actually formulated as a product, like it's an actual gunk.
Yeah, it's a gunk.
And they have to then print on a press.
And on a press, and you can print thousands of things or hundreds of, probably 800's your smallest run you'd think to go on a press, 500. But you can't go digital press because digital presses can't do fluorescence. No. So it's traditional with separate inks. It's really complicated doing that fluorescent rendering.
And then you're working, if you want to add photography to that, you're working in CMYK, which is, as we all know, the worst colour gamut on the planet.
Well, much tighter again than sRGB. So you're dealing with that. So it's one of those funny colours, pink. It's there. It's what we often call a skin tone is a pink. We refer to as magenta as pink. Magenta is sort of a bluey red, a light version of bluey red. And so you get confused in the same sort of language. But pink is one of those colours that humans, if you see a skin tone that's not right, if it's too pink, like ruddy babies, no one likes. If it's the opposite, too green, everyone looks sick. So it's probably one of the most important
That is
colours.
For people who are Caucasian.
Well, not anyone looking at a picture, no matter what your reference point is. If you see someone that's looking a bit on the green side,
yeah, true.
Our human vision system goes, there's something wrong.
Yeah, they're sick.
So that magenta green tip over is one of those things we struggle with. Anyway,
Gementa, don't you call it Gementa?
Gementa. Yeah, we do sometimes when I'm doing dyslexic or doing a
do
spoonerism.
Not tease the dyslexics.
I'm not teasing.
Okay?
I'm doing spoonerisms.
We are a very delicate bunch.
Like a smart fella is my favourite spoonerism.
Christ on a cracker! Here comes a dad joke.
Anyhow,
give me one more.
Let's say goodbye.
One more. You can't do it under pressure, can you?
Bait Kearns. Your name is Bait Kearns.
Nobody knows what that means.
Kate Burns.
Kate Atkins, you idiot.
Oh, 8 Catkins.
Fuck me. Right, let's end this.
Okay.
Look at your laptop.
37. No, that wasn't just with this.
No, that's all the other shit as well. That's it.
Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Catch you next week. Bye.